So welcome to another unboxing video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and today we're taking a look at a brand new game. Well, by the time you're watching this, it's been out a couple months. Skies Above Britain from GMT Games. And this is the third in the series. I don't think the series has a name per se, but there was Skies Above the Reich, Storm Above the Reich, and that was where you played as German fighter squadrons trying to take down formations of B-17s over Germany. This is Skies Above Britain, so it's designed by Gina Willis and the original designer of the first two, Jerry White. They collaborated on this one to make a Battle of Britain version. So here your Hurricanes and Spitfires taking down Heinkels, Stukas, and all that kind of stuff. So this is a huge, big old 3-inch box. It is absolutely massive. It is very heavy, full of a ton of boards, cardboard, wooden pieces. Primarily, oh, that's interesting. This is a solitaire game. The other ones you could do co-op, and we have done that in the past. And you could probably kind of cut this in half maybe and do it, but that doesn't say that. Like the other one was very much like, here's how to do it co-op, and here's all these rules for that. The back of the box would indicate that you might not be able to do that in this one. So let's take a look at this and see what we've got. Like 3-inch box, and it is a chock-a-block. So we have some optionals. So here we got some optional rules. We'll kind of set this aside, but this is all the additional bits and pieces that you could add for detail and stuff like that. The situation manual, the rule book, and then we get into this, the situation manual, little introduction, play to learn, learn to play. So we might be reading through this one as like a learn to play and little bite-sized pieces. And then there's some like playing through scenarios, patrols, yeah, and then campaigns. And then there's the rule book reference, which is like more procedural and regimented, but you can learn to play through this. So it'll start you with little dogfights, then bomber cycles, intercept scenarios where you'll probably do both of those, and then doing a patrol, so starting from scratch, and then a campaign linking all those together over a number of days. So, and I say that because that's pretty much how you would learn a lot of Jerry White's titles, how he does his rules. You can learn it bit by bit, and you kind of expand more and more and more as you go through it. So I'll be interested to see how that is. So it is a lot of paper, but it's like, 75% diagrams, so that even if you've never played a war game before, this could be your first war game, and it would be it's very easy to learn, very visual. So, here we have our little sheet of stickers. Again, if you've played one of these games before, you kind of know this is a block game in the sense that it has wooden blocks and you put stickers on them, but it's not in any traditional way. But you got the 4 different, flights within or sections is what they're called, sections that you're going to have within a squadron. So you've got like the yellow ones that you're going to put on one side, green ones, red ones, and the blue ones, and then different section stickers as well. And so we have our pilot rosters. So this is the kind of thing that you're going to have to photocopy. So these are on pretty heavy cardboard, and they're dual-sided as well. For 303 Squadron. 303 Squadron, if you don't know, was a big Polish squadron that was very famous in the Battle of Britain. They were extremely extremely prolific, is what I would say, involved in some very heavy combats, and then 54 Squadron as well. All right, there's so much in here. We have a bifold here for our sequence of play, and I actually appreciate this as a sequence of play. It looks like an absolute nightmare, but it's probably very orderly. It has references to the sections of the rules, and it's almost like a flow chart. But if you kind of take a step back and look at it, doesn't it look like all of the crisscrossing contrails of a dogfight over London? It's a neat little touch. On the back of it, we have our rules sections for quick reference. Raid vector sequence, pilots, return to base sequence, interception sequence. Again, as a solo game, you're going to have a lot of this out and you're just going to kind of play through it. And eventually you'll get to a point where you'll be doing it yourself. Charts for intercepting bombers and how and from which angle that you're going to be doing that from. Same thing here for intercepting escorts. This is our circle display. So this is Messerschmitt BF-110s, or are they ME-110s? Whatever. These are the large two-engine, well, kind of fighter bombers at this point, but they were used as night fighters and they were used as massive interceptors with a lot of cannons on them. These are circling above to protect their bombers, and I think these are very dangerous based on the reports that I've read. Oh, that's nice. Okay. So, for those 303 Squadron and 54 Squadron, this is historical stuff, and you can photocopy and you can do these, but you have your generic blank ones, and they give you a big old pad of those. So, if you want to do the historical stuff, you can photocopy those, or just plan on your own. You don't need to go to the photocopier right away. So we have just the one standard counter sheet. So here we've got, these are put in a cup, and that's, I think they are anyway, and this is where you're hit. So you might take a wing hit, you might take a rudder hit, you might take an engine hit. There's damage markers for all these kinds of things for you as well as them. And depending on where and how you get damaged will determine the fate of if you were able to bail out or crash land or modifiers to crash landing and all that kind of stuff. We got here 109 counters, 110 counters, and some admin markers. So I believe, my understanding is, okay, well, there is a big old board, but here we have these very large cards, and these are punch-out cards, of the different formations of Heinkel's and Dorniers are what they've got in here. Oh, and on the back we've got Stukas, Junkers 88s, more Dorniers, more Heinkel's. So these are going to be, you're going to punch these out, right? They like fall off the sprue. And these are the huge, really thick grey core. But I think these are used in lieu of the massive crisscrossing B-17 boards that you used to have in the other one. Because that was one of the design challenges of this, is that the way that the Germans flew and how and when those formations looked was much less rigid, is my understanding, than what 8th Air Force did. So my understanding is that's part of that. So here we have another counter sheet, more Germans here, and a few more admin counters as well. So you're going to have these fallen markers when bombers fall or get destroyed when you go in and shoot them up. We do have some boards, and we'll get to the rest of this here in just a second. We have a small board, which looks like this is, you're going to line up your pilots on their little blocks, and this is the section order within a squadron. Yeah, squadron display, you moron. Great. And then we do have this half-size board, which is single-sided. And this is the interception map. And so, I don't know if this illustrates this very well, but you can see it looks a little bit chaotic, but basically the German bombers used to fly in little V's of 3 bombers, but as a wider fleet, it wasn't quite so structured as the same way as the rigid Allied forces used to do, where there was all these crossing fields of fire and stuff. And so it just replacing the same board and putting, Heinkel's in there and playing the same game would not be historically representative of the kind of combat that was fought in the Battle of Britain versus the air war over Germany. So it's broken up. You're going to do some of this interceptions, and you're going to have, you know, some of these cards to then do your cycling and flying through like you used to in something like Storm Over the Reich. So everything else in here, we've got a nice little packing slip that we'll get rid of. So a bunch of wood, and there is a lot of wood in here. So the black blocks, we're going to stick all of those. We're going to put all of these stickers on them. These are going to be our planes that we're going to fly around. I don't think those fit on there, no. We have these little blue ones, which I presume are for these little stickers here. There's a cool German with a little, what do they call that? They're going to crucify me for not remembering what that's called. Balkenkreuz? Is that what it is? That's a little neat cylinder, though. That's new. And then there's some smaller cubes of two different sizes that look like they correspond to the colors of the colors of the sections within the flights as well, that will be used to track something on here. Maybe the fuel tracks. There's two D12s. Love a game that's got D12s in it. That's just so rare. You're like, unless you're a barbarian in Dungeons and Dragons, who uses a D12, right? Love D12s. That's it. Although 1 to 12 is a pretty huge spread. And then we have here our decks of cards, and these are a little bit. Again, these are quite different from previous games where you used to have the cards were attack decks based on the angle of attack. Here we have our like advantages, and then we have our escort reaction deck. So I think the gameplay for this is quite different, and I'm very curious to see how it plays. So escort reaction deck. Well, we have a tailed deck, so maybe it does have similar. But even these are different. Oh, those are for Hurricanes and Spitfires. Okay. So let me get the Hurricane one out. So this is a Hurricane tailed deck. It says Hurricane on it. And these are the Spitfire ones. It's got a slightly different back to them, but it also says it on there as well. And I presume you're going to flip a card and you're going to resolve what it says based on whether you're a single plane or it's a section, and you're going against like an ME-109 or a 110. And you're going to cross-reference what happens with that card. Here, different things are going to happen, right? That's the card pull is a part of the randomizer. Same thing on this card as well. So that's part of those. And then the escort reaction, I presume, is based on what you're doing. Here's what the escorts are going to do as a reaction to you, as part of what fuels the AI. Then we have here, he says, if I can get it to go. Yes, no, maybe. So we have the Luftwaffe Advantage cards, Bomber Light, yes, and then, so these are Stukas, and then Bomber Medium. Oh, is that? Yeah, no, we were right about that. So this is a similar type of thing. Are you a single, or like, are you attacking a single plane? Are you attacking a formation of planes, or are you attacking multiple formations of light bombers? And then this is the results. You're going to score hits. I don't know what that symbol means. That's a new one. Are they going to scatter potentially? Breaking up the formations. Lots of different things like that. So those are for light bombers, and then for medium bombers, similar type of thing, right? And then the last deck of cards here, these look like these are, well, so we have RAF Advantage, which we'll take a look at those here. So these are more in line with these ones here. So we've got head-on and tailing, for hurricanes, and head-on and tailing for Spitfires. And I don't know if you remember, we had very briefly seen that as a result of like fighter interception, you can get yourself into these different positions. But these are very similar to these. You're going to pull it, and are you head on to it, or are you tailing it? Is it one dude versus a whole flight or a section? And these are the results that you're going to get with those. So you're going to flip these. These are, again, a randomizer. The advantage cards, you're going to flip these if you've got advantage, I guess. If you're being tailed, here's something that happens. If it's head-on, something different might happen. If you're tailing them, you then get tailed, maybe? Oof. Those represent, I guess, what can happen as a result of maneuvering the game. So there's a ton in this box. Like, it's a lot of game. And I will get a lot of this punched and stickered and ready to go and learn it. And very much, I will go through the situation manual, start to finish, and I will roll through this and play it all. Because why wouldn't I, right? That's how you could read the whole rulebook and just play it from there if you wanted to. But it's always nice easing into those things. You're like, here's this core concept. Everything builds around that. So then you add the next layer onto that. Well, how did we get into that? Great, we've got this, but now, how did we get to that stage? How did we get to that stage? And you kind of learn his games inside out, but you just build upon what you already know, but you're starting with like the end game typically, and then building out into all the ancillary stuff that led to that, which is an interesting way to learn and teach games. Great ethos. So, Skies Above Britain from GMT Games. I know this is a bit of a long unboxing, but there's a lot in here. And it's very different from a lot of your Hex Encounter and card-driven war games. So hopefully that was helpful. Beautiful artwork, by the way. Antonis Karadis does a lot of these kind of digital artworks for GMT. They're just stunning. He's got a website. Check it out. I could have his artwork framed on my walls. It's that good. But yeah, appreciate you very much for tuning in. I'm Alexander from theplayersaid.com.